The history of the DC Universe, covered by Alex Ross, but were illustrated by George Perez. And we go through everything you need to know post Crisis of Infinity Earths. This is one of the most complete reboots in comic book history, probably the greatest reboot in comic book history. So we get this continuity thread from this. And you guys can see we get into the modern DC age here. So this Flash, right? This Flash, boom, gets the Flash family. And here we are. At this time in Flash history, the Flash family was really Impulse. Impulse was the better read of everything. Alright, AKAPADers, new type of video today. Imagine a world before greatness. We're going to be getting into multiple comic book creators, and we're just going to dissect a little bit of what these titles were. And we're talking EVS today. But what was Impulse before EVS? What Ethan Van Schiver, what was that book before he came on board? And what happened after? Well, we're going to be doing this for a lot of individuals. We're going to start with EVS. I'm pumped. If you're into any of my live streams, we technically already did this episode live, but I wanted to, I don't know, I can't get things out of my head sometimes, so stick with me. Let's get into it. Before Impulse, after Impulse, Ethan Van Schiver. Let's go. AKAPADers, Peter A. DeLuca here. We're doing something new. We're doing a new style of video today. Imagine this. Imagine a before and an after. Yes, no one really discusses comic book history on these terms when we speak of creators. What is it like before a creator that we know had impact on a title? What was that title before the impact? We always talk about the after. We don't get any perspective on exactly how and why it was impactful. Was it the editors? Was it the publishing mandates? Was it the sheer will of the creator? Often so, it is the sheer will of the creator. The time that they're willing to spend on every single page, every single panel, and in many cases, a pure level of genius rolling throughout the blank page. It's only a level of genius that can make these levels of improvement. How many times can I say level? So stick with me. We're going to get into EVS, Ethan Van Schiver. He is controversial. He is a hot button topic issue, but he was then and still is one talented mother effer. Impulse, the best Flash book at the time. So many of you forget true comic book history. Impulse was the better read at this time. Impulse was the Flash family, the birth of the Flash family. EVS comes onto this book, coming from a juvenile position regarding Cyberfrog. Cyberfrog and his somewhat rivalry with Trent Canigua, funny letters. These two used to write letters back and forth. I believe some of them were reprinted in Cyberfrog Creed, upcoming also on this channel. I believe that to be a absolute masterwork of those two mega talents. But EVS had a juvenile teenage position just on the look, the feel, and the attitude of his artwork. He had a little bit of McFarlane, a little bit of Arthur Adams, a little bit of Jim Lee, dynamic poses, wonderful use of blacks. And here's the amazing thing. From a generation that so many people like to claim did not have storytelling, EVS comes into Impulse with panels. Lots of panels, a multiplication of panels. A lot of times more panels mean, you guessed it, more storytelling. This is some of the hubris of when we look back at this time. Individuals, I know you're one of them, will trash on this period. You will pretend that there was no storytelling. You will play dumb about some of the writing. You will play ignorant about the state of the comic book industry. I was there. Some of you were there. We're going to discuss it. And then this is also bleeding into a larger range of videos. We're going to be delving into a lot of creators when they hit titles, what was happening with the title before, and then what exactly and why things were impactful when said creator smashed on a title. Now, some of these runs are going to be well known, some of them are not going to be well known, but it helps us encapsulate exactly what a run, what a book should contain, and why it's important to have continuity, why it's important to have long numbering, because charting these things becomes absolutely significant, but more or less historic. When we cancel books so readily and we relaunch them so quickly, we destroy the continuity, we destroy the history, and in a larger way, we rob our audience, me and you, the readers, of the time investment that we love making into comics. This is a long baseline for myself. I believe the entire comic book industry has gaslit itself and believing that continuity does not sell. Today, we have proof of that, and today we're going to chart exactly why EVS was significant when he went from Harris Comics into DC, and how much of a roundhouse kick to the face he gave this title. Let's go. And we have a beginning, aka Patters. Welcome back to the drawing table. Cheers. Love you guys. Say it with me. Don't trust any comic book commentator if they don't have a Crypt action figure at their drawing table. So the beginning. It's not this beginning. We're talking about the history of the DC universe. Continuity. Say it with me. Again. Continuity sells comics. Interconnectivity sells comics. Making comic books fun, broad, have crevices, have veins, makes comic books fun. There needs to be space between the armor so that if you go down the crevice, you can explore. These are the things continuity unlocks. The history of the DC universe. This is a collected edition. This, what I have in my hands, was previously a double prestige format miniseries in the vein of Dark Knight Returns. Same type of format. History of the DC Universe. Illustrated, look, I bought this for like $5. Illustrated by George Perez. And we get into the dirt, the origin of the DC Universe, the origin of the magic, the origin of the new gods, and how things are connected and separate. This goes all the way into the modern age of heroes. And right here, we get really nice Superman. Look at George Perez. If this doesn't give you a comic book stiffy, I don't know what will. So we get this version of the Flash post-Crisis. The previous version of the Flash dies during Crisis of Infinity Earths. Crisis of Infinity Earths roughly was this combination, this amalgam, coagulation of all these separate universes. Part of that was representative of DC Comics at the time. Our boys DC. DC had acquired a lot of books, companies, characters, profiles, and they were just a comic book superhero publisher. And in contrast, Marvel at the time, because of Stan Lee, guys, Stan Lee, we say that name with grace. We're big Stan Lee guys, by the way. But Stan Lee, with Amazing Fantasy 15, just simple question. What if we continued this superhero thing in this manner and just made everyone friends and we put everyone in New York City and we just go from there? Putting the Marvel Universe in New York City, and everyone that worked for Marvel was in New York, so they're drawing their neighborhood, essentially. Made it more believable, made it more relatable, made it more fun, dynamic. We don't say fun a lot for comics, but it made it more fun. And it was an experiment that worked. And that continuity was unbroken, pretty much going into the X-Men Onslaught crossover. We can argue a little bit of a break with Secret Wars, but that continuity went all the way through. This continuity, the Crisis of Infinity Earths continuity, goes all the way into the Jeff Johns, Andy Kubert Flashpoint. And along the way, we get expansion of families. You know, we know about Shazam's family. Things that we forget about. Batman and the Outsiders. The Green Lantern family. And one of the guys that took that version of the Flash that came out of Crisis was... right, look, guys, this is how you know you read comics, right? Mark Waid and Mike Warrengrove. Mark Waid really was the name that put the Flash back on the map. The Flash at one point was the the DC read. Flash had better comics than anything else that was monthly from DC. Waid kind of becomes a little bit of an architect of the Flash family, and through that, you know, we have Impulse. And you can kind of see that the style here, right? Craig Rosslew, his style is what I would call open and fast. Toothbrush of truth here. By open and fast, okay, we are leaving a lot of space. And we have nice focal points in our panels, but it's open. And by fast, I mean he has a very, draw on the board style. So his layouts could be over here. He could be blowing up his layouts to transfer them over. But his style is so fast that there's a lot left to the inking. The inker comes in and adds, some of those bumps, some of those crevices, some of those thick to thin, okay? Not a lot of feathering either. Again, open and fast. This was also, if you guys want to connect this with some of my other commentary, this was the idea that Jim Lee implemented for Wildstorm Productions, namely the Backlash title with Robin Kirby coming in over Brett Booth with an open and fast style. Rob Liefeld with Extreme Studios got Todd Nook to come in and be, guess what, open and fast. So we get like a good idea here. So Impulse 47, enough of a history lesson there. We're talking about EBS. Human Sunshine Beam. Comparing Impulse 47 to Impulse 50 is the bee's knees, boys and girls. Because we're trying to sell more of Impulse here, which was the better Flash book during this run. I love this Flash. I love this Impulse run. The Flash, remember, historic Mark Waid run over here, historic Jeff Johns run over here. Together, I don't know, I guess they rebirthed the character, so whatever with that. I never liked Flash Rebirth. I'm not on board with any of the rebirths, with the Green Lantern rebirth or with the Flash rebirth, Reborn, whatever the heck they were called. But let's sell Impulse, and we put Superman on the cover, and let's sell Impulse, and we have a baby Batman on the cover, but we have a giant Joker, and we're going to call it Agent of the Bat, because that's what Azrael was called during that time. A good book too, by the way. This is a little bit what I mean. This is like a creative boom era of DC Comics. Because Agent of the Bat for Batman is to the Flash as or Agent of the Bat for Batman is to the Batman book as Impulse is to the Flash book. We got that out. But we get this. We get a sale here, right? Like, let's sell this book, and we're going to put in Superman. Well, let's sell this book. It's a 50 issue, boom. And we're going to put in a new writer and we're going to put in a new artist, and we're going to sell it. Now, we kind of want to say crossover wise, or guess appearance wise, Superman fits Impulse way better than Batman fits Impulse. And then we get Genius. Oh my god, I said it. We get Genius on page 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold up. Sorry, none of that counts. I don't have my toothbrush of truth here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 panels on page 1. EVS at this point was very big on he like inked, he bordered his borders. We see this in the Hall of Heroes work. He bordered his borders. And then he did a lot of black borders. Like he kind of like framed in his page. Let's just kind of, oh my god, open and easy. This is a page 1 that takes a few hours. Okay? I mean, I'm talking through the inking stage. This page 1 takes a day or 2. Well, okay, let's go to, oh, jeez. And then we have paneling here that looks like an Archie comic. Open and loose. Open and fast, I mean, sorry. Open and loose, that's what she said. So, let's just get into this, though. Like, let's see what, oh my god. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 panels. We go full bleed here. Now, full bleed sometimes could be how we publish. EVS, who draws killer hair, drew killer hair like this of Creed for Cyberfrog Creed. Go check that out. But, you know, Impulse's hair goes all the way to the edge. EVS always works in Easter eggs and nods. Impulse Boy here is reading Mad Magazine, R.I.P. Mad Magazine. And we get, like, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 panels, not a Kirby grid, as they like to call it, but Jim Gordon talking to bats. Great establishing shot here. Already, there's like a level of mood set. So where are we for this Impulse when we first see Soup? Well, okay. We introduce Soup with the splash page, but then when we actually see him in a paneled page, if you guys don't want to acknowledge that there's a level to a layout, I don't know. I really feel like you guys are missing the boat if you cannot discern from the left to the right. Open and fast. Let's make it rain. Let's make it rain. That's going to be more work for the penciler, the inker, even the colorist. And then we get, oh my god, more panels. So, if we're in an age, just keep in mind, and this is an argument for what's in front of your face here, and, oh, sorry, toothbrush of truth needs to go down. If we're going to argue what we have here, and even what we have in some of these other Impulse books, people want to say we're in an age of comics that doesn't have storytelling, doesn't have paneling, doesn't have plot. It's all about images and splash pages and spread pages and turn the book sideways pages, and it's not. Okay, on Top Cow Tuesday and Wildstorm Wednesday, weekly shows have you. We dissect this and we constantly prove this point wrong. But we have, you know, Batman here finds a Joker walkie-talkie, and then Impulse shoots off to answer the call, runs into James Gordon, and then boom, he is head to head with Dark Knight. So you might want to say that this panel here is very similar to Impulse's introduction to Superman. Now, again, different intent. This way more impactful because you turn the page and you get it, right? But then we have EVS here that is, and even look, Impulse is running and runs into Superman here, and look at the difference of the two. Okay, like the journey to the title character, the reason why you're buying this book, the guest star, right? Way different. I mean, this is insane here. He's got those motion lines, a little bit of manga influence here. He looks like he can do some damage. Like he looks like a kid, but he is determined. And here he's just like shocked and looking goofy. So why isn't this a splash page? We can only guesstimate the reason why this is not a splash page. This is why I like to, I just love hypothesizing sometimes. Is because EVS is so wrapped into the paneling that this was the shot that was required, right? Like, because we need this shot. But I need my panels. And we gotta move on. And then we get exposition here. We get everything set up. This face here, very Humberto Ramos, who was the initial impulsive artist, by the way. Humberto Ramos, some people feel like he should never have been part of Cliffhanger. I'm a part of that camp. Crimson would have never have sold if Battle Chasers and Danger Girl were timely. I'll tell you that. Not saying that Crimson's not good. Crimson's a good 2-year read. But yeah, and then they collude. I need you to do this. I need you to go find the Joker. Impulse finds the Joker. And again, we're not getting these like big splashy shots. Our biggest panel so far is some of our exposition. EVS leaves room for the dialogue. But let's get the Joker. And again, black panels, kind of like full bleed all the way to the edge. And we get some of this, like Impulse thought balloon. And, this is from Humberto Ramos. This is what they popularized. I'm kind of the idea that when whoever draws Impulse, you need to include the emoji thought balloons. And, during this time, there was no such thing as emojis. You would have to make emojis with a colon and semicolon. But yeah, we get EVS here, rocking and rolling with the Joker. We're waiting for Joker and the Dark Knight to show up on page together. But then we get this amazing... Look, this is what they do now with a double-page spread. EVS has already come up through the generation that has ridiculed the Image 7, Image 6, maybe even Image 5, depending on how we want to look at that, of doing too many double-page spreads. Too many double-page spreads. You guys have done too many spreads. So fine, let's do a double page spread, and we're going to just go from left to right, and we're going to just do straight paneling. And a lot of this qualifies as animatic. It's silent. Some people might want to say storyboard, but they're not. But yeah, it's almost like like he's got to get these objects right. He takes these Polaroid pictures. He goes all over the world, and he's trying to kind of like own the Joker. And Impulse is able to go toe to toe with the Joker, which is fantastic in this. But we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 panels, more panels. Again, EVS did very designed pages at this time. But this is kind of what we want. We always want the Joker in different expressions. So we get kind of like sad, smile, anguish, stymied, right? Like kind of not so pissed off. And then we get the Dark Knight in action. And this is very, Norm Brayfogle, who was on Prime at the time. Brayfogle's work on The Dark Knight has resonated, but it's not a seminal take. It's just not popular enough. But Breyfogle's take on the Dark Knight is look into Holy Terror. Like, it's one of the best single prestige format Batman books ever. But yeah, we get Joker with an Uzi, Dark Knight doing Dark Knight things. So some of this is, you might want to see this, and you can say, like, is this a hack? Was this inspired by something? You know, it just looks like a lot of our Wildstorm Productions work. Maybe yes, maybe no. But EVS also needs to tone it down, because the general audience, the audience for this book, is a little bit lighter. You know, they don't want full on, we'll say, for lack of a better term, extreme action. So the rendering needs to be a little bit more wide open, and based on his work on Cyberfrog, this was a great fit. But yeah, we get Impulse, we get the Souls. Again, thank you, Herberto Ramos. But he draws the Dark Knight very well as like an object. And this is a lot of what we saw of the Dark Knight at this time. But then yeah, we wrap it up. The two are friends. Next issue, the Fog Prince end sequence. And it's a completely satisfactory experience. It's a leap from everything that we saw before. I mean, this is what was before. And everyone will go, I hate the argument that Jack Kirby turned Jimmy Olsen into a bestseller. Like, what are we... I hate that argument. Given Liefeld getting into New Mutants bumped it. And we know the rest of those names. But there's a lot of these names in comic book history that bump a title. And everyone just immediately wants to go to the sales. The sales mean nothing. You have to know the level of work and what is really happening page to page and issue to issue. So when we talk about a comic book run, when we talk about a person's career, it's in proper perspective. This is lost right now, guys. This comparison is the observation of what you can do with what you are given. And EVS shatters the grid, literally shatters the grid with this work. And he's young as fuck